The Weekly Warp Pipe.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Weekly Warp Pipe, a podcast dedicated to retro video games, 80s and 90s toys, and all things nostalgia. We're part of the Dorkening Podcast Network, and we're brought to you by Deadly Grounds Coffee. Coffee to die for. And this week, we're jumping in the Warp Pipe and going back and taking a look at some hard NES games. I know a lot of you guys have New Year's resolutions to completing some NES games in your backlog, so we're breaking down our top 10 NES hard games in this episode. But before we get into it, here's a word from our sponsor.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds Coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
What's up, everyone? I'm RussLyman.
What's up, guys? I'm NES Addict.
And welcome to episode 40 of the Weekly Warp Pipe.
40 and counting. Nice.
Nice. Good stuff, for sure. We've been covering a lot of topics on the Warp Pipe here, and we're glad for any new listeners, or if you've been listening since episode 1.
The OG. The Weekly
OGs.
Warp Pipe crew.
That's right.
We need a name. We need a name for these people.
For the Weekly Warp Pipe people?
Yeah.
We'll have to get some name suggestions on if you want to leave comments on YouTube. I don't know what they could be.
Because like Taylor Swift has like the Swifties. You know, do we have the Pipers? I don't know.
Be like the Rowdy Piper fans.
Yeah.
The Pipers. We'll see if that sticks.
The Warped Pipers. I don't know.
I just did get some new merch. I didn't pick it up yet. It arrived at my mom's house, but so we have the mugs. I got magnets and stickers, and I just got some pins, like buttons, or not really buttons. They're not enamel pins. They're like acrylic pins, if that makes sense, of the logo. So they're almost like plastic with like, you know, the little post. And you
Gotcha.
So, if you check out the weeklywarpipe.com, you could probably see a picture on there and pick some up.
So not like old school band pins that you would wear like on your hat or your
right.
bag.
I would call a button. I
Button.
guess.
Okay.
Because I had those when I was in a band. Those were pretty easy merch to get made.
Yeah.
What are we talking about this week, Jay?
We are talking about the hardest NES games, also known as NES Hard.
There we go. Yeah, I figured it'd be a fun topic because a lot of people, when we did our New Year's resolution episode, they kind of had goals and beating, you know, certain games maybe in their backlog or whatnot, or games they haven't beaten in their childhood. It's like, you know what? 2023 is the year. Going to beat these games. So that'd be cool. We each did our own top 10 list of kind of the hardest games we thought.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have a few of these on this list are on my list for 2023 as well. So,
and this could tie back to one of our early episodes as well when we get into the discussion whether using save states is cheating. Do you really beat the game? You can listen to the episode to see how we feel about that.
yeah,
Is it episode 2? I don't even know which episode it is, but
I don't know either. You'll have to go back and check it out, though.
Yeah. So to top it off with the list, I started with certainly all of these are hard. I want to say this one was the hardest, but Ninja Gaiden 3. Oh, what do you say?
I was going to say, should we start with the hardest or should we start with the easiest and work our way to the hardest?
Oh, I mean, I just put it in any order. Essentially.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So I did do Ninja Gaiden 3, Ancient Ship of Doom.
Yeah, that one's the toughest of the three, mainly because of the limited amount of continues you have.
Right. That definitely hurts it because with the other two, you could just keep practicing. You know, you're stuck at whatever, level 6. You could keep continuing going over and over again. But with Ancient Ship of Doom, I think they give you only 3 continues.
Yeah.
I want to say. And then that's it. You have to start from the beginning of the game, work your way back up to whatever level you're stuck at, and then try again until you die.
Yep. That made my list as well.
Oh, okay.
I kind of cheated and also put number 1. I put 1 and 3. I got a cop out on that. I think 2 is the easiest of the 3. 2 is the one I had the least amount of difficulty with. I've beaten all 3 of them legitly. But
legitimately.
One,
Mhm.
like, oh man, it grades your nerves as you have to go through level 6 over and over, unless you're just a pro like Megadan29.
That's it.
And you can beat Jackweo on the first try, which I cannot. As a matter of fact, on my NES Classic, I did use a save state on Jackweo
Okay.
just to practice him. So that way,
Right.
when I played through it, I could just go all the way through. And I finally, at one point, I figured out a pattern for him that I could manage. But I will tell you, the last time I tried it, that had slipped my brain and I wasn't able to do it. But yeah, Ninja Gaiden 3. There's, I think the last level has like a bunch of spikes that come in and out.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember
like
that?
that like pushes you off the wall, like it
Yeah.
comes like 3D.
So you kind of have to you kind of have to know exactly where to go, and then I think the final bosses aren't quite as bad as, to me, the second form of Jackweo on Ninja Gaiden 1 is the worst, but they're not easy either though.
Right.
But
That's
that
certainly
game
hard.
I had to practice for like weeks before I finally beat that, because I played it on the NES, a real NES.
The real deal. I play
The
it,
real
so
deal.
I play most of my games on the classic systems. It's modded, so I have all the games on there and the ability to save state. It makes it easier for when I'm live streaming. I can choose whatever game to play rather than, I did stream a new NES game that came out called Full Quiet, brand new NES game 2023 on my original NES, and I'm using a retro tink to upscale it so I could plug it into my Elgato, so then you can, capture footage or stream it. So I could stream straight from the NES to go classic with it, but it's just easier on the NES Classic.
You're talking some rock solid production stuff now. He's all up into the upscaling. Gary, shout out to Gary. Love you, Gary, if you're out there.
What do you got number 2 on your list, Jay?
So I'm gonna kind of work my way up from the bottom.
Okay.
This is a game that I've also beaten. I think it's the hardest of the 3. Castlevania 3.
That also made my list.
It gets pretty challenging towards the end. It's not that bad, and there's also branching pathways.
Right, that's what kind of makes it more unique and difficult, because maybe you're stuck on one branching path, so you have to go back and maybe choose the other path.
Yeah, I know there's definitely an easier way and a harder way. I don't remember which is which, but I've beaten it multiple times, at least 5, and it's a really enjoyable game. And I think the reason I rated this game lower as far as difficulty, is because it does have a password system.
Oh, okay.
So
that's right.
You don't have to start from the beginning and play the whole thing over. You can kind of save your progress.
Yeah.
Which is nice, especially for that game.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I played through it I had like a handheld with some games on it. So I played through it on there just kind of on the go, because I felt that was pretty easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly hard, but I mean, definitely doable with practice. And with the passwords, you can always come back to where you got stuck and you can do it again.
In that game, I don't consider the final bosses, the final boss, the final form of Dracula, I don't consider him to be super difficult, but more just some of the stair climbing and platforming and enemy placement in those last like 2-3 levels before you get there, that just cause a lot of deaths on your way.
It's like the hardest boss, the stairs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like so random. You're like, what?
Yeah, it's true though. It's super challenging.
I picked this one. I bet you it doesn't make a lot of people's list. But I put on there the original Metroid.
I can totally see why you would put that on there. It is hard.
I got my Metroid shirt on. I have been on a Metroid kick. Let me tell you, I've been streaming Metroid Fusion on my YouTube channel, and then I've been on TikTok going through Super Metroid. And
Such a good game.
Yeah, I haven't beaten in years, so I was like, you know what? Let me go through this again. And what was it?
I beat that game a couple weeks ago on my SNES Classic.
Got my Nintendo Power here, so I could get some tips and tricks. But the original Metroid, right? Classic game, super fun, creepy atmosphere and all that. But it makes it so difficult. There's no map. So it's
There's
like,
no map.
where am I going? Maybe places start to look the same and you're unsure how to move forward. Maybe you need a certain power up and you definitely need to get a Nintendo Power if you want to get anywhere in that game, or use, a walkthrough or something like that. That's why I prefer playing Metroid Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance, which is a remake of the original, and it gives you that map, and it kind of holds your head in a little bit. It tells you, all right, you need to go here. Here's your target area.
Right.
So I usually play through that once a year. Of course, the original's a classic. I will say this is a fun fact. If you've seen one of my videos, I have Metroid on my Play Choice 10 arcade cabinet, and I have the Play Choice where it has dual screens, and it actually gives you a map on the second screen.
No way.
It doesn't update like where you are, but it shows you like blocks, and it gives like question mark blocks where like something could be. So I thought that was pretty neat.
That's interesting. So that's on the Play Choice 10?
Yeah, only the version, because there's a single cab, like you only have one monitor. Mine has the dual. So on the second top screen, you can select it. It'll say like instructions, or you can choose the map.
That's really cool. I can't imagine anybody ever beating Metroid on a Play Choice 10. Could you imagine how long you'd have to sit there? I mean, unless you owned it like yourself. Like,
that's true. Yeah, I wonder. I haven't tried. I mean, I would assume, would passwords work on the Play Choice? I would assume.
I would assume so. But man, I mean, I guess you could always play it for a while, get your password, and come back a week later and pop it back in. But man, I just couldn't see anybody doing it in one setting.
Right. Yeah. Unless you're, I don't know what a speed run in the game goes for, like, what, maybe 2 hours, maybe probably less, I bet, if you're like skipping certain stuff and you're really good at the game. But again, playing with like a joystick rather than a D-pad.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I'll be honest with you. I have one arcade one-up cabinet, and it's the Final Fight cab, and that's because that was a big game for me when I was a kid. And more importantly, I got it for $50. But I will say that having a arcade one-up cab, I much prefer home consoles. To the joystick. I think that's why I also never use my NES Advantage. It's like more of a NES disadvantage.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean the map thing was probably a super challenging part to get through as a kid. I know a lot of kids like made homemade maps on like graph paper, which is brilliant, a brilliant idea, but also, could you imagine how time consuming that is?
I mean, I could see getting this game back in the day in the 80s and literally playing it for like 6 months, like diving into it. And I don't think people that are getting into retro gaming have that kind of attention span or time to like do that with a game.
No, absolutely not. I mean, like now that we're all adults, especially. Yeah, no, if I would have been slightly older in the 80s, like I think you have to be a certain age. I don't know, maybe not. I mean, it seems like Tyler from My Retro Life, his cousin Manny didn't let anything stop him, and he seemed pretty young. But I think all that time in drawing maps out and locating items, because some of that stuff it's easier to find maybe in Super Metroid because what you're seeing is more clear. And also, you've already been through the original Metroid, so they put things in really obscure placement.
Right. Hidden rooms and all that.
Yeah, but some of that stuff on the first one, like if you don't know it's there, like unless you just shoot every single wall, kind of like on Zelda, where you burn every single bush
and bomb every brick.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I can't imagine having that kind of time. I guess you have to be like 10 years old in 1988.
That's it.
All right, let's see. Metroid, great one. Here's a game I picked up a couple weeks ago because I realized I hadn't really played it that much. I honestly didn't understand the concept of it. I had to watch a little video and then I kind of figured it out.
Okay.
But Street Fighter 2010.
Oh, okay.
That game is tough. And and apparently it's really long because I played it for about an hour, and I don't think I was very far into it.
No kidding. I mean, I've only seen the AVGN episode of it. I don't think I ever personally played it.
Yeah. So basically, each level is like a screen, and maybe there's some leeway up and down or left and right, but it's not like a side scroller where you're going to go for a long distance.
Right.
And you have a target that you have to fight, which is where I guess they get the Street Fighter thing. Because imagine like the real Street Fighter that we all know, like Ryu and Ken.
Right.
But you have a slightly bigger map, almost like what's that game? Smash Bros.
As I say, similar to Smash Bros. When it pulls out and you got this bigger map area.
So it kind of has like a Smash Brothers feel to it, and so you have to kill the target, and then you move on to the next level. Now there are some levels where it's more like a side-scrolling, like you have to get through this part as the screen's moving and pushing you forward. So there's a variety on there. I would say more of them are the fighting, the one-on-one, 1v1 fighting like Smash Bros. But I think that game's just really long, but it's also tough. And from what I remember on AVGN, there's a time limit, which makes it challenging at the end.
Yeah.
Like you have to do all these things in like a certain amount of time, and if it doesn't happen, then you're starting over.
Ugh, I hate that. I hate when they add it. I guess that was maybe from the arcade days. They were like, let's put time limits in games, and it's like that extra added difficulty where it's now you're rushed to get through and find stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I do like that on Metroid though, because they only use it at the end.
Right, where you benefit, like, it gives you replay value. Try to beat it quicker, and I can get a better ending.
Well, that, and I'm also referring to, once you defeat Mother Brain, you only have so many seconds to like get out alive.
Right, the little countdown destruction.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
Another one on my list here with time and matter that makes you rush. Marble Madness.
Oh, yeah.
I've been wanting to beat that game for a while. I played it a ton as a kid, and you get to those later levels and you're falling off the edge. And you're like, let's go. And then the timer's going down and you want to go faster, but then you're going to fall off the edge more, or you need to get speed to make a jump. And you're like, what is happening?
So am I mistaken that game only has like 5 or 6 levels?
I think it is very short. Yes, it probably only has 5 or 6 levels. I'm pretty sure I've gotten to level at least 4, maybe 5.
I think I've only gotten to 3, but I also haven't played that game a ton since, I have a huge backlog. But I saw a guy speed run it. It might have been, I don't know. It's the guy that has the mustache and looks like a cowboy.
Oh, shoot. I watch him a ton too. What the heck is his name?
I don't know. He looks great.
He goes, and smash.
Yeah. But he destroyed that game.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
I think he beat it in like less than 3 minutes.
He does these Arcade marathons where he'll have like 7 NES games he's going to beat on live stream, like lined up.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I think his name's Arcus.
That's probably it.
Yeah, definitely check him out. He's a good one.
Yeah, dude, Marble Madness, that's a good one. It's a game you don't really think about.
Right, that's what I said. I bet you people didn't put that on like, when you say NES Hard, you're like, Marble Madness? Nah.
Yeah, that's kind of like Snake Rattle and Roll a little bit.
True, I played that a ton growing up as well.
That's funny. I
never beat that one either.
I didn't know those games existed until I became the NES addict and started collecting. So
nice.
My next one, I beat this game a couple years back on a live stream. It took like 4 to 6 hours. It's notably hard because they make you play it twice. Ghost and Goblins.
Of course. I think that was the last one on my list.
Yeah.
When you think NES Hard, of course, it's Ghost and Goblins.
Ghost and Goblins is tough because of some of the enemy placements, just relentless.
Well, they pop up from the ground too, so maybe you're making a jump and you're midway in the air and they're coming up and you're like, what am I going to do?
Yeah. And Super Ghost and Goblins on the Super Nintendo is crazy hard too. But yeah, I was able to get through it. Now, the forgiving thing about Ghost and Goblins, much like Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2, is that you have unlimited continues. So the game isn't over until you say it's over.
Right. You could just leave your NES on, go to school,
Yeah.
come back and
So I have a funny story about when I beat that game.
okay.
Captain Retro was driving through Greenville for some reason. He was coming from a
Is he picking up a
convention.
pinball machine or
I
something?
think he was coming from a convention, and he texted me or called me. He's like, "Hey man, I just need somewhere to stop for like an hour. Do you care if I swing by your house?" And I was like, "No, that's fine." So he showed up right as I was at the last level, and like 5 minutes after he showed up, I beat it, and I was like, "Dude, you're my good luck charm."
Nice. Yeah, it's a good one. I can't say I don't think I ever beat that with save states without them on the original NES or anything. I've gotten pretty far into it. But
Yeah.
don't you have to have a special weapon, right, to beat the boss or no?
Yeah, I can't remember what it is they drop right there. At
Oh,
the
the
end.
shield.
It is the shield.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have the
too.
shield. The final boss isn't that bad. It's just like the level design.
That's what it is. Yeah, and it's basically 2-hit deaths. Like
Yep.
once you lose your armor, now you're tiptoeing around.
It is very important to learn where you can respawn the armor. That helps a lot.
Right, and to make sure it's like, oh, it's not going to be one of the magic magician evil guys or whatever.
Yeah, and you never want to get the fire.
Right, or if you by accidentally get the fire and then you're like, darn it, I had the knife.
I had the
Now
knife.
Now I have the fire.
Rule number 1, get the knife, as AVGN says.
Have you, a little off topic, have you gotten the remake on Switch?
I have not, no.
It's on my wish list. I think it's like $30 for like, and I'm like, it's a digital game. $30. Like I'm waiting for a sale.
So the way I feel about that is I still need to finish the Super Nintendo version. So before I would even consider buying that, I want to beat the Super Nintendo one.
Okay.
So
fair enough.
You know,
before we get into the rest of the list, we'll take a quick break and hear from some other podcasts on the Dorkening Podcast Network that we think you guys should be checking out.
Are you a fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books? Then Epic Tales from the Sewers is a podcast for you. We cover the comic books, video games, movies, cartoons, and anything else turtle related. We talk about the toys, we talk about the cereal, we talk about all the fun things about turtles that we love so much. So give a listen. You can find us on iTunes, Google Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. Check out Epic Tales from the Sewers, part of the Epic Airways Podcast Network. Give a listen, dudes. Cowabunga is this podcast for you.
Do you like gaming?
You know, this game would be better if it was a battle royale.
Do you like technology?
I bet this tech would work better if it was a battle royale. Do you like movies, TV shows, and everything else that me and Nate can't agree on?
The Last Jedi was easily the best Star Wars film I have ever seen.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Everybody in this room is stupid now because of you.
Talking Gaming and Tech is a bi-weekly podcast where we cover the latest and greatest in gaming and tech. Now part of the Dorkening Podcast Network. Talking Gaming and Tech is a podcast produced by Tech Prime Media. You can find us on YouTube and all other social media platforms. You can find Talking Gaming and Tech on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcasts from.
This podcast is filmed live.
If you want to check us out while we're filming live, remember to follow links on social media and your comment might be read on air.
Greetings and shabebans. We are the Retro Reductopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Well, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Steve's trying to say is that on Retro Reductopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Dorkening Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Reductopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
And we're back. All right. What else we got for NES Hard games? I'm gonna go with another. No, you know what? So many number 3s have made the list.
Yeah.
Maybe they're like, 1 and 2, we're good. We're gonna crank up the difficulty, and I put Double Dragon 3, the Sacred Stones.
Yeah.
On the list.
Yeah, I've never beaten the second one or the third one, only the first. But
I feel like the second you get a little bit better chance because you can play 2-player at the same time. So I think maybe that'll help you. I mean, maybe it won't. I don't know. If your player 2 keeps dying or dropping off an edge, maybe you won't get too far. But yeah, 3 again with Ninja Gaiden. It's I believe they don't give you any continues.
Oh wow.
I think it's just the lives that you have.
Oh wow. Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. I haven't played it in a minute, but I remember it being that hard where like, okay, you really got to memorize everything because you only have like 4 lives or whatever to get through the game.
I feel like the hit detection on that game is a little wonky.
Right. It can be iffy. Yeah, it can be a little iffy.
Like on the first game and the second game, I feel like you can almost feel the contact you make with people, the way the controls are made. I don't know. And I don't think I like some of the artwork on the second one. And when I say artwork, I'm referring to the character design. I like them much better in the first 2. I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with how hard it is, just by preference, and maybe why I've avoided it some.
Right. I mean, yeah, I picked it up because you got to complete the trilogy. But certainly difficult. I'll probably go through it and most likely use the old save state method and see how far we could get. Use it as a means of practice.
There you go. I'll have to watch you when you do that, Russ, because I think I've only popped it in to play maybe the part of the first level, and I was like, I don't like this as much as the first one.
Right.
The first one is my preference. Even I get a lot of flack for saying this, but it's controversial, so I'll say it. But I prefer the first Double Dragon to River City Ransom.
Oh.
And my reason why is I don't like RPG stuff very, very much.
Right.
So I don't want to buy sushi to get health.
I don't have to read a book to learn.
I don't want to have to read a book. Exactly. I just want to continue to punch your face in and kick your shins in, and then then I'll level up.
It's funny is I'd never really played River City Ransom on the NES. But I did enjoy Tokyo Rumble on 3DS, River City Ransom Tokyo Rumble, and River City Girls that just came out recently. And the second one's coming out as well. So I did enjoy playing those. But yeah, like you said, I just want to pop in a game and then just, hit a couple punch buttons and blow through the enemies. I'm not walking around. And
that's why I hate Breath of the Wild. I don't want to cook a salmon with a monster eye and a bone of a Fandolfo.
You don't put the monster eye in there. It's going to be bad food.
You know what I'm saying.
I get you.
I'm just being a jerk right now.
What else you got on your list?
All right. Let's see. Here is another game that I've beaten. This game is super duper hard. It took me 5.5 months to beat, playing it almost every day, sometimes twice a day. I had a lot of time on my hands back then. I only worked the weekends. That's why. Battletoads.
Gotta have Battletoads on there for sure.
Battletoads, man, they throw some crazy stuff at you in that game. But I did slowly progress.
Right.
The level that made me want to give up the most is the one where you're riding on that big one wheel thing where you're holding on by like handlebars and you have to make all these precision turns.
I don't think I even made it to that level.
Basically, if you don't make the turn precisely enough, you lose speed, and the thing behind you catches up and gets you.
I got you.
And I bet I played that level 2, maybe 3 weeks. I remember calling Todd. You guys probably remember Todd, Creepy Todd, back in the day in my videos. And I was like, "How in the heck did you beat this?" Like I tried to use the Advantage. I tried to use the NES Max. I figured because it has that little slide cycling thing, like maybe that. Like eventually, after a lot of programming, my brain finally got those turns down and I could get through there somehow. But I almost gave up on that level.
I will say, if you guys are looking to beat this game, you can look up Bootsy from AVGN channel. He put a good tutorial on there.
And I will say, if you look in the comments section, you will see a lot of my comments because I watched that video over and over and over.
And you eventually beat the game. So
I also have my own tutorial that I put up too as well. If anybody wants to check that out.
Nice. Over at the NES Addict.
NES Addict on eBay, cheese on YouTube. And I put where I beat the game on there too.
Oh, cool.
Episode of Beat It on there because that was too good not to document.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with my theme of games you probably wouldn't suspect to be on NES Hard list. Maybe you would. Maybe you would suspect this one. The Karate Kid.
Yeah. I tried to play that a couple months back.
So they start you off with the tournament. Oftentimes, I can't get past the tournament. And I'm like, what is happening? I'm just jamming on the buttons and, I can't defeat the other enemy. You have to defeat I think there's like 3 people in the tournament, and then you actually start the side-scrolling portion of the game. But I wonder how many kids back in the day just like couldn't get past that tournament part. It was like, this game sucks. Why did I rent it?
You got to sweep the leg, Russ.
That's it. You got to sweep it. You can do the crane kick in there as well.
That is a game I want to beat. I think that's beatable.
It's definitely, if you watch, I think Tyler from Generation Gap Gaming put out a video on how to beat it, or at least broke it down enough.
Yeah.
With tips and tricks. I played it a ton. I enjoyed the movies in the 80s, and you got Cobra Kai out. So I feel like a lot of people will revisit that game and hopefully stick with it and beat it. They have the fun bonus scenes where you can chop the ice, catch the fly, or karate chop that anvil for whatever reason.
Oh, yeah. Karate chop and anvils. Ouch.
One trick that I've seen is if you can get 2 enemies behind you and you walk forward, no new enemies will spawn.
Okay.
So you can kind of just cruise to the level and hopefully make it over any platforms you have to jump. But that was like a trick in the later levels where the enemies were a little bit more difficult. You can, get 2 behind you and you're like, all right, let's make a run for it.
I might stream that on TikTok. I was playing that 6 months ago, maybe. And I got like level 3, maybe 4.
Yeah. And it's got some good music. I enjoy it. I did make a custom Karate Kid NES controller for Tyler, and he put it in his video. So yeah, if you want to check out that video, just search up RussLyman custom Karate Kid NES controller. You can see a cool video. I made it like bamboo.
That's cool. Good old Generation Gap Gaming. Tyler was the man. He still is the man. It's not like he's dead. He's still alive.
I messaged him. He hasn't messaged me back. I wanted to wish him a happy new year and see how things are going.
I sent him a picture of himself at Christmas because I have his mullet boy sticker.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I just said Merry Christmas and he just laughed.
Nice.
Up next for me, this is a game that I've played a few times, maybe not enough. What do you got there? What are we seeing? Oh, that's cool.
There's the controller you can kind of see.
For those of you that can watch on YouTube, that's a good looking controller. Kid Icarus.
Oh yeah, wow.
That game's hard, man.
Dude, so hard.
You know who's really good at that game?
Mm-mm.
Jeff from Smash JT. I watched him beat it several summers ago on a live stream.
Oh, just like straight through.
Dude, I was like so impressed. I was like, dang, Jeff, like you got some skills. Like that game's hard. I think he must have had it as a kid though and kind of knew what to do. But
right, I didn't have that one growing up. I've actually got it on the 3DS when you were able to buy like NES games, and I think that was the only way I was able to get far in it because on the 3DS it let you do the save states and stuff.
Yeah, it's challenging. I fall down those pits a lot, like the ones that vertically scroll, you know?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Because a lot of the early levels are all just vertical levels.
Yeah.
Until you break into the horizontal, and then it's almost more exploring. And it's like, oh, I don't have enough hearts, and I made it to the shop, and I can't buy anything. And now the shop's closed because you can only go at once.
Yeah, that was a game I never played as a kid, so I didn't get it until I collected NES games. But I don't think it gets enough credit. I don't think people talk about that game enough.
And yeah, he's in Smash Brothers Pit. So you would think maybe we would get a new Kid Icarus type game. We got the one Kid Icarus Uprising on the 3DS.
Yeah.
Which got a lot of bad flack because of, I guess, the controls that they opted to use. The game literally comes with a holder for your 3DS system that you can put it on because you need to like use both hands for controlling movement. I think with the stylus or something. And I was like, what? What is this?
Yeah, I don't like that already. That makes me not even want to try it. But yeah, and Kid Icarus / Pit was also in that Captain N, the Game Master cartoon.
That's right. Yeah, he made a comeback in there. So it was like, oh, maybe I never played that game growing up.
Yeah,
you're like, I don't know. Who knows? What else we got? Here's one that is definitely not on Jay's list because I know he's good at the game, but I'm not that great at it. Super C.
Super C. I beat that on a stream the other day.
I feel like I'm not great at this game, and I think it's hard because I played the original so much. I played Contra so much. It's kind of embedded in your brain, like where everything is, where the enemies are coming out, so you could beat it. Can't say, though, that I beat it without 30 live code. Regular Contra. With Super C, they don't give you the 30 live code. You do get a different code, and I think you can get 10 guys.
10 or 12. I can't remember.
Yeah, so it's not a full whole shebang of guys. But yeah, again, I haven't played it that much, so I don't have these levels memorized. So it's like I keep dying, and I'm like, oh, what is going on?
I used to think that Contra was my favorite between the two. I think they're both almost equally good. Sometimes I like Super C better, but I'll tell you what makes Super C more difficult than Contra. This is my opinion. In Super C, you have a lot more enemies that attack you from behind.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So instead of Contra, where it's kind of just always moving forward, Super C, you have to watch your back like all the time.
So that's what makes it better to have like 2-player action where you can, okay, I'm going to cover the back while you advance forward.
Yeah, I don't know. I could still see that getting precarious with somebody else got to drag along.
I remember, what was it, 3 years ago now, maybe? Was it 3? It might even be 4 years ago, where I came over for Southeast Game Exchange, and me and Riff played the game on a quick play on my channel, and he was like, I was like, let's make a fun quick play. So when you die, we'll switch the controller and hand it to someone else. And I thought it'd be fun. And I die like, a minute or two into the thing. And then he's playing for like 15 minutes. Like
he had an amazing run. And shout out to Riff. I got his Retro Liberty shirt on now. But it was so funny because I was trying to tell him what to do on this,
like where to go
on this certain level. And I think that I knew what I meant, but I didn't enunciate what I meant very well, or I didn't communicate it.
Right, communicate it.
But and he was like, "You told me to do this." You're so mad because he was having an epic run. He probably would have beat the game if I'd have kept my mouth shut. Sorry, Aaron.
Yeah. That video is still up on the channel to check it out. I think it came up as a in my time hop thing, and I was like, "Oh, I remember that." Because
that was a really fun night. Everybody was at my house. I think that was like the first year, like a lot of people were at my house, and
yeah, because we recorded a few quick plays there. Like me and you did a game. Me and Riff did a game. I was like, "Oh, while we're here, let's get some content going."
Yeah, it's always the case.
How many more you got on your list? I have one left.
I got 4, so we're good.
Oh, okay. So I'll let you go. I'll go, and then you finish it up.
So I got The Adventures of Bayou Billy.
Oh, yeah, huh?
I feel like this game is hard because of I don't know. I think Bayou Billy has poor programming.
That's what I was going to say, hit detection, yeah.
Hit detection on that game is whack. It should be like Double Dragon. When you hit somebody, you should hit them, but it always feels like you can't find where you're supposed to be.
And I feel like, forget if I'm wrong or not, but I feel like they take a lot of hits too. To like get the
do
out.
like
it should be like 2 hits and like move on.
Maybe 3. Yeah, I could see that, but
and it's like 6 or like 8.
It's so slow. Yeah, that game is slow. I don't find it very fun either. So I don't find myself wanting to come back to play it. I do think they changed the game up though. I think you have a shooting level where you can use your zapper and maybe something else. But
right, the ambition was there, and it was definitely different. and they had the cool cover art. Bet you, a lot of kids were watching Crocodile Dundee movie came out, and they're like, Bayou Billy, okay, I can relate to this, and like,
Yeah.
let's check it out. And then maybe was disappointed at how difficult it was.
I think it had potential if they had just fixed the hit detection and maybe, like you said, lowered the amount of hits. I know Megadans beat this game and a few other people, but I don't find it fun enough to keep coming back to it.
Right, to put that time in to actually complete it.
Right.
The last one on my list, I put the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I thought you might put that.
I haven't beaten it. I've gotten to the warehouse area, I guess, before you find the Technodrome.
Yep.
And that was it. And I think I've only done that one time.
So when you say warehouse, is it like it's dark and there's these little things with flashlights flying around and you're going in these different it almost looks like a hangar.
Hangar, yes, yeah, that area.
Yeah, you're pretty close once you get there. Ninja Turtles is overall an easy game with a few hard parts.
Okay.
I would say the hardest parts are at first that dam level can be really tricky until you get the hang of it.
Right, diffusing the bombs. And
you basically have to use all 4 of your turtles because that pink algae that kills you is it's that one part in that level, they make it where you have to almost be perfect. I think I've gotten through it one time where I got hit. No, I think I still got hit. I got hit once, but I think that's the least I've ever gotten hit. But that part's hard. There's one part where you have to drop down these little levels perfectly while these spikes are coming in on you.
Oh, okay.
And if you don't drop that perfect, you'll get hit by the spikes. And they put a pizza over there too to entice you, but
don't get it.
That is not what you want. And then I think the van level can be challenging if you don't know where you're going. I basically watched the walkthrough and just memorized it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the level after that, where you're kind of going down in these sewers and you're trying, there's like these planes flying over, dropping bombs on you when you're on the street level. That part can be hard just because it's kind of like the van level where you just need to know where you're going. And then other than that, the last like screen before you get to Shredder,
okay,
is relentlessly hard. There's these guys flying around with these jetpacks with these guns and all these enemies coming at you. But if you can get through there, Shredder's the easiest part of the whole game.
Well, that's a relief because it's like by the time you get to that end part, it's like you have no health, or maybe you only have 2 turtles, and you're like, I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah, I can see why you put that on there. The only reason, I love that game. It's an amazing game. I didn't appreciate it as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, some people give it flack. Like they obviously go from playing the arcade version where it's a beat 'em up, and then the other 2 turtle games that came out at NES were beat 'em ups.
Yep.
So this was the only like adventure style game. Certainly fun. I played it a bunch, and maybe they didn't have all the enemies in it from the show, but you got Bebop and Rocksteady. So you're like, there you go.
I always assumed those other enemies were from Dimension X.
Okay.
That was my explanation as a child.
You're like, sure, flamethrower or flame guy or whatever.
He's from Dimension X. He's got to be.
Dimension X, the little bug things. Yeah. I mean, yeah, why not? Makes sense.
As an adult, it is my favorite of the 3. As a kid, I would have said number 2. I didn't know the third one existed.
Gotcha.
All right. I have 3 left, so I'll kind of bang them out here. This one is one that I actually said last week was on my New Year's resolutions of games to beat, and that is Little Nemo the Dream Master.
Yes. Yep.
Super fun game. Amazing animation. Real
cool concept.
Cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was taken from a cartoon way back when. I think it's a Capcom game, and I mean, overall, it's really good. It's just it gets difficult. The train part, I think we discussed, was hard.
Right, because you're moving, it's constantly moving, but you're also have to watch out for like spikes, or like maybe there's a wall and you have to like jump on a pillar to jump over the wall, and you could get smushed. So it's like get a lot of memorization.
Yeah, a lot of memorization. I may have gotten past it once, but yeah, that's a challenging game, but I'd like to put it in the books. In the next 2 games, both shooters. I find Gradius extremely hard.
It's tough with a lot of those shooters because they bank on you upgrading your ship, and once you lose all those upgrades in a further part of the level, it's hard to get back into your flow, I'd say.
Yeah. I find that Life Force, in my opinion, is a better game. It seems a little faster. I think Gradius seems kind of slow. Excuse
Slow
me.
moving, yeah.
And yeah, it's kind of slow moving, and I don't know. I prefer Life Force. I can't beat Life Force either, at least not without the code.
I think any of the shooter games I played growing up, I never beat. Life Force, Stinger. What was the one with the like angels?
Guardian
Legend.
There's Guardian Legend, but are you talking Legendary Wings?
Legendary Wings.
Yeah, he looks like Archangel from X-Men.
Yes.
Yeah, that one's hard.
They're all fun, but I never beat any of them.
Yeah, they're hard, and so with that, this last one is kind of like a combination of both those. I think this is probably the hardest NES game of all time, and not because it's like broken. I don't think it's broken. I just think it's insanely difficult.
Okay.
Silver Surfer.
Absolutely tough one for sure.
Bootsy can beat it too.
Oh, does he have a video on that one? Or
yeah, and it's unbelievable. Like I'll
have to watch that one.
He just knows.
And I feel like a lot of kids were, into X-Men, and you're like, oh, Silver Surfer, yeah, reading the comics or whatever, and you're like, let me play this, and like start it up, die in 2 seconds, like boom, right away.
That's honestly, I did a TikTok video for it, and it's like, as soon as it started, I was dead. I was like, how?
It's like, how do you progress? How do you practice if it's over that fast?
Yeah. And the other thing too is it's not clear what in the background or foreground, even, I guess, what's acceptable to touch and what's not.
Yes. Yeah. And also it makes it seem like this Silver Surfer as a person isn't strong, where he's in the comics like a fairly strong superhero.
Yeah, he is the biggest wuss of all time. A duck can kill him.
Yes, it's like, come on, like why one hit deaths? Like,
yeah,
give it a life bar,
please.
It's not like it's an arcade game where they're looking to get quarters out of you. Like, oh, I died. Let me put another quarter in, and you could kind of progress because you're putting money in. It's like you're at home with a console. Like, give me a life bar.
It is relentlessly hard. It's angering how hard it is.
That's why you throw the controller.
Oh yeah. F this game. I'm done.
I will say the controllers, they can take a licking. I've tossed many controllers playing Nintendo growing up, and they also worked.
Your controller will outstand your television if you throw it at the screen.
Right. Oh, true.
Russ, did you have any honorable mentions?
I did not. I just did the straight 10 on there, so no honorable mentions.
I'll just name them real quick. I said Mega Man 1.
Yeah.
Mostly because the mustard monster guy. The yellow devil.
Yellow devil.
Fester's Quest.
Yeah.
I remember renting that as a kid and being like, what the heck do I do? And then another Sunsoft game. This is a game I wish I could get into, but I can't. Blaster Master.
I was going to say, Blaster Master was almost going to make my list. I really, really enjoyed the remake, Blaster Master Zero, which you could get on Switch, and they have 3 of them. But yeah, the original one on NES, again, almost like Metroid, it's so large, you don't know where to go, and there's no map.
Yep.
And you're like, okay.
I need boundaries.
Yeah.
So,
great soundtrack, though, so I guess if you're just wandering around, at least you got some good tunes.
There you go.
NES Hard games. Yeah, so let us know if any of these made your list. Do you plan on beating any of these games, or I guess other games?
What games have you beat off this list? I'd like to know that too.
All right, me personally, or the people?
No, the people listening.
People listening. Okay. And did you use save states, or were beat it straight up like Jay? Raising the roof. Guys, if you want to pick up some merch, you can head to theweeklywarpipe.com. We got mugs, magnets, stickers, and now pins as well. Maybe I'll get hats next. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
Do the warp pipe on here. I got the bit by bit hats. Could do a t-shirt and a hat of the logo here.
I'm gonna get that mug. I swear. It just depends on when. It's gonna be a
I
surprise.
only use it for the weekly warp pipe, and I drink water out of it. If anyone's wondering, I never have tea in here. I should have done some hot cocoa near Christmas time, but
Don't let him lie to you. That's vodka.
Yeah, if you guys want to follow me, I'm on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. It's all at RussLyman. If you want to check Jay out,
I'm on TikTok mainly only. I mean, if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, there's years of content to watch. Nothing new though. But yeah, but most importantly, I'm right here every Saturday with my buddy RussLyman on the weekly Warp Pipe.
That's right. As always, guys, I'm RussLyman, and keep your world fun bit by bit.
Take care, guys.